Good evening, Lancer Nation. Welcome to the first ever episode of Lancer Late Night. I am Mr. Sweegles, your host, and our first guest on this special broadcast is none other than Mr. Rhodes, also known as DJ Ryman Rhodes, a couple times during the year. And we have 7 questions that we're going to ask Mr. Rhodes, and he's going to give us his best off-the-cuff response, and we'll get into a few different topics. Some of the questions will be serious, some of them will be silly, but we're going to get started. So, Mr. Rhodes, this week's P2 character strength was appreciation of beauty and excellence. So, what's a way that in your own personal life, something that brings you awe or something that you appreciate about either the beauty of something or just the sustained excellence of something?
Wow, great question. Well, the first thing that I see when it comes to beauty is sometimes beauty comes in different packages. So, for example, something that brings me a lot of awe is how my kids can destroy a house in a very short amount of time. Mrs. Rhodes and myself go to great lengths to clean up the house and make sure that everything is tidy in order. But that means nothing to our 2 children. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes I'll look out and be inspired by, wow, it's pretty amazing how fast they can do it, how fast they can tear apart the house. But when I reflect on it, I say, hey, that's kind of beautiful. It means a lot of playtime was happening, a lot of fun things were happening. So it's a little bit different way of viewing it. But to me, it is something that is beauty because it goes to show that a big mess means lots of fun was taking place. So
I hear you. I think right now I can hear what's going on in my living room, and I hear puzzles. I hear tents being made. I know there's Play-Doh at the table, so
yes.
I'm living that experience with you, my friend. All right. So since I think April 2nd, we've been under a stay-at-home order, and we're recording this on Friday at about 12:30. But the governor just came out with an extension to our stay-at-home order for another until May 15th. But what's been one positive about this stay-at-home order for Mr. Rhodes?
Well, the positive is I've gotten to spend a lot of time with my family. I think usually when you look forward to the summertime and really getting to connect again with your family, but I've also had an opportunity to learn some new things, and with the amount of time I'm staying and spending at home, it feels like there could be opportunities there for me to grow and do different things. So I started picking up learning how to play the guitar. So far I've got down the bass line for Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. So that's a pretty simple one, but needless to say, I never picked up a guitar before. But, there's just the life is what you make it, I guess, for me. And I think if we are forced to be at home and it's important for us to do so, let's take advantage of it and learn some new things and explore some things that you probably never thought you wanted to do. So, yeah. I guess it's just about making the best out of this situation and trying to stay positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what Dylan Clem was trying to get across to our students earlier in the year when we talked about you can't control the event, but you can control your response, and then that's gonna ultimately dictate the outcome. So I appreciate your positive mindset about that. And it's funny you mentioned Seven Nation Army. That's a staple on my running playlist.
There you go.
It's got the right number of beats per minute to keep that pace going. So
yeah, I Googled easiest song to learn if you've never played the guitar before, and hey, that popped up. So
hey, start small, grow from there. Right? All right, Mr. Rhodes. So you are a middle school teacher.
Amen.
And I don't know if you can think as far back. You're a little younger than I am, but what kind of kid were you as a middle schooler, Mr. Rhodes?
Well, like many middle schoolers, I was growing. It was life in the middle is an interesting time for all of us. One thing that I was like as a middle schooler was I was really into sports. I think there was never an off season when it came to organized sports. That was something that I always really enjoyed. I remember that the big cool thing to have was CD player Walkmans. So it was all about who could have the coolest Walkman and have the coolest CDs in your locker. I think Dr. Dre came out with an album that I won't mention the title of, but it was something that I remember being like, you had to have it to be cool. So I think as a middle schooler, it was always a goal to be the coolest kid on the block for me. However, in hindsight, I recognize that probably wasn't the best way of viewing things, because I wasn't trying to be too much like somebody else and not really focusing on who I wanted to be myself. But needless to say, middle school was a growing period for me. But it was something that I look back on fondly because, it was a time of growth and a time of interesting socialization, if you will. So that's basically how I handled middle school myself.
So I heard you mention CDs, and you were a teenager in the '90s for a period of time. Were you a Columbia House CD member?
Penny? Harmony House.
Harmony House.
Yeah. So it was all about figuring out who could get the coolest ones and the newest thing. You call me DJ Ryman Rhodes. Maybe that's kind of where my love of rap and hip hop started, was in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, because Bone Thugs and Harmony was big for me. Dr. Dre, getting back to the old school stuff, man. It was it was an interesting time, to say the least, in Metro Detroit.
I think I lied to my mom one time that in order to get her to purchase me a Bone Thugs and Harmony CD.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we didn't put that in the CD player in the minivan.
Yep.
Oh, good times. All right, Mr. Rhodes. Easy, quick question. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke, without a doubt.
All right.
Yep.
Pepsi folk. I don't know.
Yeah. There's something about Coke that just reminds me of summertime. A nice cold Coke, man, can't be beat.
It's good stuff. All right, Mr. Rhodes. We can't go a lot of places to eat to sit down anyway. But think about what's one food item in the surrounding area that might be your favorite from a local restaurant.
This one's easy because we've had a little bit of time. We've spent, being home, you don't spend a whole lot of money going out and doing things that you normally do. So you have a little bit extra money. So for us, we like to once a week go and get sushi. And in St. Joe, there's a little sushi place called Little Tokyo. And there's one guy in there who does everything. And it's our go-to treat for ourselves, because typically we wouldn't be able to drive there and get everything that we want, and because of, just staying busy and all that good stuff. But Little Tokyo, it's got great sushi. And we've introduced Rosie to it as well. And she'll eat a California roll and tear it apart and enjoy it. And Gino doesn't care at all. He's one. So he just kind of eats whatever we put in front of him. So anyway, Little Tokyo, highly recommended.
All right, Mr. Rhodes. Now we're in middle school, so 6, 7, 8. But maybe share with us where you spent the majority of your time or all of your time as a K-12 student, and who might have been one of your most impactful educators that you had during that time.
Yeah, I was, I grew up in the Metro Detroit area. I went to Clifford Smart Middle School, and then went on to Walled Lake Central High School. I had a lot of good and impactful educators throughout my journey. It's hard to choose one. But I would say the number one teacher I had was probably my high school football coach. His name was Chuck Apap. The reason he was so influential was because he actually taught math, but was a fantastic math teacher. The first day of class, he brought out a plastic lightsaber and said, "He is the Yoda of math," which always kind of stuck with me because it was funny to see him outside of that element of being a football coach. But I think for him, when it came to coaching his players, he focused more on coaching them as men and as human beings, and really spent a lot of our time working on our character and working on our growth as humans. We did a lot of volunteer work. We spent a lot of time working with different students and groups and organizing things to help others. And everything that was ingrained into what we were learning on the football field, he kind of related to life and related to being a good person and treating others with empathy and kindness and respect and love, really. So he instilled those values in us, and it was apparent with the way that he carried himself that it wasn't just a talk for him. It was something that he always necessarily he always wanted to exude within himself as well. So yeah, Coach Chuck Apap, yeah, he taught me in math, but he taught me how to be a good person, and something I'll always remember.
It sounds like Coach Apap knew about the other people matter and positive psychology before it was kind of mainstream. So that's pretty
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, his wife, Mrs. Apap, used to come in and help us learn some meditation techniques. She was a hypnotherapist, and that was quite interesting every year to
Nice.
have an interesting experience with her, and helped us to get our minds straight. And yeah, they were just a wonderful team of, husband and wife team when it came to us football players. But yeah, he just was a really influential person in my life and remains that way too.
Awesome. Clear eyes, full hearts.
Can't lose.
Rhodes, last question. I don't even know the number of days we've been out. It's been a lot. What's the thing you miss most about being at LMS?
Man, besides Cheddar Munchers?
Besides Cheddar Munchers.
Okay. Well, I would have to say that it's probably just the kids. That's such an easy answer, but it's true. It's seeing them every day is what makes us continue to come in. I miss my class and seeing them, and yeah, we get to get on here on Zoom and on Google Hangouts and things like that, but it's really not the same to be shooting basketball with Alex, or to be joking with Alexis, or to be laughing with Shakayla, or all of these things that really bring teaching the joy that it is every day. And I feel like it's a little bit different. It's a hard way to end kind of the year, and I think all of us teachers are really feeling that when it comes to the kids. And I think too, it's just something that we got to find our new normal. And I think hopefully in the fall, when things open back up, we can get right back into it, and it'll help us appreciate things a little bit more, and really help pour our hearts into what we do every day being away, because absence, I guess, makes the heart grow fonder, because that's what I'm feeling as well. So
true. Yeah. Like you said, it's an easy answer, but I think for many it's the answer. So
yeah,
I think you're on with what most people would respond, if they couldn't choose Cheddar Munchers, of course.
Yeah.
Right. All right, Mr. Rhodes. Well, thank you so much for being the first guest on Lancer Late Night. And say hey to Rosie and Gino and Mrs. Rhodes for me, and we hope to see you all very soon.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr.
Right.
Sweegles. Yep. And you guys have a wonderful day.
All right. Adios, Lancer Nation. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of your place. Until next time, this is Mr. Sweegles with Lancer Late Night.